Hello, everyone. Welcome. This is Geert Bake. We will start in a couple of moments, giving it just one extra minute or so, and then we'll start with the presentation. Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Geert Bake here, and welcome to the first online TechTrain event hosted this evening by the Flow Consulting. Pieter Op de Beek and Sander de Vos will be presenting today. During the event, feel free to, of course, use the Q&A that's open for you to ask questions. And after the event, Peter and Sander will ask or will answer the questions as best as possible. If you have some other issue during the session, for example, you cannot hear anything or something, just use the chat or the Q&A as well to do so. And we'll come back at the end of the session just to do a quick recap. So I'm going to give the floor to start to Peter. Peter, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Geert. Let me quickly introduce the Flow. So what we do at the Flow is we create star teams. But let's start with this. So a group of people is not automatically a team, let alone a star team. If you talk about a real team, it needs the right framework and the right tools to be actually productive. All of these are covered within Microsoft 365. Now, when we talk about your modern digital workplace, these teams, they need to be able to at least safely work together, to be able to brainstorm and ideate, and to be creative and actually create business value. Now, you're nothing with business value if you're not able to share it with your own team or with other teams within the company, even outside the company. That's also possible. But especially to be able to make decisions fast and based on the right facts with the support of the right people. Now, at the Flow, we create these star teams based on 3 pillars, which are people, digital flow, and technology. So the first one, people, it might seem quite obvious, but this is basically where we involve all impacted people in the process, where we keep in mind that the employee readiness and their individual digital fitness is very key in the entire process. When we talk about digital flow, this is where we help redrawing the information landscape from our customers. This is also where we realign processes and the technology. And all of these decisions, they become living facts in a governance plan, which I'll come back to later. And third, oops, that was one too fast, my bad. And the third one is the technology. This is obviously where Microsoft 365 comes into place. It has all the technology to create and support the best digital workplace. So as part of this technology stack, we have Microsoft Teams, which is a key position in any digital transformation or optimization program. So also, as many of you already might know, Microsoft Teams is positioned as the hub for teamwork, which brings together everything a team needs. So you have the chat and the threaded conversations, you have your meetings and video conferencing, you're able to make PSTN calling and even well, even integrated with your entire phone systems. You can work actively and real time together on content with the power of other Office 365 applications. And Teams also offers the ability to create and integrate apps and workflows that your business relies on. And because Microsoft Teams is a part of Office 365, it comes with the enterprise-grade security, compliance, and manageability that our customers expect and obviously also value. Now, Teams may be well-known, the well-known purple front layer. It's really heavy. The color pops up everywhere, but it integrates and leans on various other Office 365 applications. So let's have a very brief look into the Teams architecture, which it relies on. So it gives you access to files, collaboration workspaces, which in Teams are called Teams. So don't blame me for that. It's what it is. It also encapsulates the chats, the meetings, and the calls. Now, if you share files in individual or group chats, these files are being stored in the OneDrive of the person who shares these files. Simultaneously, the receiver or receivers, plural, gets instant access to these shared files. Now, also, and this one is good to know, OneDrive is often used by teams for hidden lists and also to store personal configuration parameters. So make sure to have it enabled before start using Teams or deploying Teams. Now, Teams themselves are built on top of Office 365 groups. An Office 365 group is basically a dynamic Azure security group with simply owners and members. Now, since most people in a particular security group are mainly there to collaborate, an Office 365 group provides all members and owners obviously also with a set of productivity tools. Now, what I wanted to say about these productivity tools is that always went too fast again. Is when you want to file share and create wikis within your team or your collaboration group, they are stored in a linked and dedicated SharePoint Online team site. The site can be extended afterwards based on the team's needs. Now, some of you have heard of a recent announcement, very recent, basically. It's called Microsoft Lists. Now, apparently, it's built on top of SharePoint List technology, but since it will be integrated within Microsoft Teams very soon, we are hoping to update or to be able to update our architecture overview very fast. But more on Microsoft Lists later in this session. In case the team wants to be organized fast, because you get collaboration tools and everybody's in place, you got everything set up, but you want to get organized very fast, they need to have a way to get their work activities planned in a very efficient way and a fast visual way. This can be done in a linked plan in the app called Planner. Now, all the comments posted on Planner tasks, they are stored in Exchange Online in a dedicated group mailbox. This group mailbox also securely stores all the conversations that you have within your Teams channels. Now, also as part of Exchange Online, it also covers your personal mailbox or the user mailboxes, and each of them store individual information on one-on-one and group chats. Also the meeting and calendar information, and they even store the call summaries. Now, when a meeting is recorded, like for example we do today, the information or the video is stored in a platform called Microsoft Stream. And Microsoft Stream is quite similar. You could compare it to your own corporate secure YouTube platform. Now, finally, these recordings, again, can be shared through emails, through Yammer, or sent back to a SharePoint communication site, for example, to reach much more people than the particular team itself. Now, for some people, still, Microsoft Teams sounds pretty easy to set up, right? It's just an advanced chat tool. Yeah. The number of times I've heard that sentence. Now, we stumbled upon a couple of companies that quickly set up Teams recently without the right guidance. So let's have a quick look at some real first month phrases we picked up after their Teams launch campaigns. I hope you can relate to any of these Teams governance related pains. The IT department states, we needed to go fast. hashtag COVID-19. So everything, yeah, COVID-19 got everything covered today. If something goes wrong, just blame the virus. Involving the business, why should we even do that? It's a tool. It's an IT thing. Rules. What rules? Why should we have rules? It's just a team. You create a team and you start collaborating. It's as simple as that. This is a statement that comes very often as well from IT, but mostly from the business. Teams, there are teams everywhere, and they can't find their way anywhere anymore. Now, everyone in our company can create a team. That's great. But again, there are also companies that say no one in our company can create a team. There was one statement from a person from finance department that says, I'm in 30 teams already, and it was only day 2 since the launch of Microsoft Teams. There was one guy who really, I think he posted it on Yammer, on their internal community network. He said, look at this screenshot, cool, I just linked my Dropbox to Teams. That sounds secure. I guess the security guys will love this statement. And again, just create a ticket. So I can assume this is rather okay if you have a technical issue. But again, in most companies that we visited that didn't have the right guidance, people also create tickets regarding best practices, so not technical stuff. And in many cases, their service desk was not trained for that, or to answer that. They just answered, "Go look at this information," and they just closed the ticket. Yeah. So it's very important to understand that these days many companies struggle very hard in terms of their digital transformation or optimization process, and the COVID-19 crisis speeded up things a little bit. It struck many companies truly like in this image, like a wrecking ball. Now, due to the obligated home working situation that came with this COVID-19 crisis, many companies enabled Microsoft Teams with a single snap. And very often, as we noticed, it was under great pressure of their senior leadership team. And yes, it's absolutely important that companies, that they are agile and that they are able to react very quickly to these kind of COVID-19 situations, but not to lose control. So their employees, they're looking for a productivity solution, so not additional chaos on top of the entire COVID-19 situation. Now, at the Flow, we've been thinking about this a lot, and to actually avoid the chaos, avoid Teams sprawl, the lack of game rules, the lack of responsibilities, and so on, we generated a digital workplace governance approach, which results in a governance plan. And it's supported on 6 main topics. So first of all, we have the goals and benefits realization, which covers what we want to achieve, how to realize it, and how to follow up. We also have roles and responsibilities, where we define the stakeholders, the ambassadors, their role, the governance board, and so on. We also have business alignment. This is a very crucial one, where we also extract our change management approach. It's partially built on top of the ADKAR methodology, as many of you might know or heard of, but also to be able to raise the employees to a higher digital fit level, as we call it these days. There's also information management. This is a crucial one because this is where you talk about the content structure, data classification, data lifecycle, external collaboration, and all the rules related to that. And also, obviously, this is quite not a surprise. Technology is a big part of the governance plan, where we look at the IT landscape, where we talk about the entire application strategy, the security, integrations with other platforms, and so on. And finally, operations and review processes. This is also where we cover technical and functional support, the functional change requests, how to handle them, how to react very properly on all of these kind of rising things after Teams launch, also feature management and so on. But we can provide you with much more information and insights if you really like. So if you're interested, please let's get in touch. Now let's move on with some really cool and new and recently announced team features. Sander?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Let me just quickly take over the screen sharing. Okay, everybody should be able to see my screen now and hear me. Please let me know if you don't. But what we especially want to talk about right now is the features that are recently have been integrated into Teams, and of course that have recently been announced that will be available shortly or soon in the future. We categorize these features into 3 categories. We have some new features regarding conversations and chats, some features regarding meetings, and then of course certain features that do not really contain to one specific category, so we handle those separately. So first up are the conversations. One really new handy feature that is already available today is the fact that you can post a message across different channels or teams. This is especially useful when you are the owner of more than one team and you want to post a message that is just of general importance to a lot of users, and this way you can actually do that. So once you start compiling your message, you will see in the top right a button post in multiple channels, and then you will be able to just select the channels in which you want to post this message. After you have posted that message in more than one channel, only the people that have access to that specific channel can react to that post. Not one post in that case or one message is the master, but if you are the person that created that post, you can go to one of the posts that were created and it will be edited to all the other posts as well. So it's essentially a way that every post you created is a master in that case. So definitely you can already use that today if you have updated your client. One really handy feature as well, this is already available for quite a while actually, but not a lot of people know this exists. But there is a way to add tags to a specific team. So this is team-based that you create these tags, and you can, for example, create a tag engineers or programmers or developers, whatever, and you can add people to that tag. And whenever you compile a message in a channel, you can just simply add the tag, and those people that are a part of that tag will get a notification of your message. Before this was available, the only way you could send a specific notification to more than one person was to either mention those people specifically or use the @team or @channel tag, which is always available, of course. So I can definitely recommend to start implementing these tags as of today into your teams. Furthermore, it is now also already available that you can pop out multiple windows for the chats. This means for one-to-one chats or for group chats, you can pop out those windows and you can have more than one chat open at a time. A lot of people were asking for this feature because before Teams, they could do this with Skype for Business, and especially for people that are maybe on the help desk or in certain situations, they need or they have the requirement to just have multiple chats open at a time and interact with people that way. So that is already available. You can just simply press the pop-up button on the top right corner in a chat. Very recently, they also added the feature that you, as a person, can enable or disable read receipts for private chats. This means that if someone sends you a message, if you disable this feature, they will not see the icon next to the message they sent if you have read that message. This is also very handy for people in the situation of a help desk or something like that. This can, of course, be enabled or disabled on organization level via the Teams Admin Center. A new feature that has been announced but is not yet available is the fact that if you share a SharePoint link in the Microsoft Teams, you will get the option to edit the sharing options of that file. So if you have a file in SharePoint today, if you select it and you press the share button, you can say in which way you want to share this file. You can send it as an anonymous link, or you can say specific people within the organization, and you can say if they can edit or read. As of in the future, it will be possible to do that from within Microsoft Teams. So that will be very helpful. If you just have the link, you paste it in the chat, and then you can say the people that will have the permissions to read this chat, which permissions do you want to give them to this specific file. So that is very helpful. You then don't have to do that via the SharePoint interface. And this also makes it possible that they don't get the spam from all the invites via their Outlook or email. This way they just get the notification via Teams. Now, for new features regarding meetings, recently they have implemented the raise hands functionality. If you have a meeting ongoing, or you have organized a meeting and you are sharing your screen or whatever, and you're looking at your presentation you are giving and not into your Teams application, you will now get a notification if someone raises their hand, also meaning they have a question or a remark or whatever. But this is very helpful if you're focused or giving a training session or an info session and you are not actively looking at your Teams window. The presenter will then get a notification if people raise their hand, and you can, of course, act on that. As the presenter, you can then again lower the hand of the person that raised it if he answered his question. Of course, probably everybody has seen this already, but you can use background effects now. If you do not want to show the room you are currently in, you can use a background effect that Microsoft Teams has available for you. But of course, some people also would like to use a custom background. In the case you maybe want to add some branding, as you see right now, with the beautiful picture of Peter. But on Windows, you can add a custom image by simply adding that image to that file path you see there. But in the future, Microsoft Teams will simply add a upload button from within the Teams interface that you can simply upload an image to, and then you will have that image available from within your Teams interface. So you don't have to go via the above path that you see there. As of right now, that custom path is only available, of course, for the Windows desktop clients. But in the future, that will, of course, change. In a meeting, it is also possible to include system audio whenever you want to share content. This is, of course, especially helpful if you want to share your screen and show a video or something like that, and you want to include then you of course want to include the system audio so that the people in the current meeting also hear the audio from that video. As of right now, that is also only available for the Windows desktop client. Browser is not yet supported, and the support for Linux and Mac will probably come in the near future. Another situation where you might want to include this, of course, is if you have a very informal meeting, then you can include your system audio to just play some funny sounds in the background when someone gives a remark or whatever. But that is, of course, only for very informal situations or when you have a laugh with your team or whatever. But definitely recommended to do at least once. Not entirely a new feature, but a very cool trick for people using the Windows desktop application is whenever you share a specific presentation or PowerPoint deck, you can then simply just right-click on your PowerPoint deck and show presenter view. The people in the meeting will still just see the slides, but the person presenting or sharing the slide deck will see the presenter view. As of right now, this is also only available for the Windows desktop client. A very neat little trick that not a lot of people know about is that you can download an attendance report in Microsoft Teams. Now, this attendance report can, of course, be very helpful in the scenario that you are giving an online training in a classroom situation or whatever. You can just simply and quickly press the download button, and later on you can just view which people were attending the meeting at that point. One of the biggest requested features since COVID-19, of course, is the fact that Microsoft Teams only had the possibility to show two video cameras, or four, video cameras at once. While, of course, the biggest competitor, Zoom, could show as many as participants. Now, Microsoft didn't think it was very helpful to have that many videos on one screen, just because at some point you just don't see anything anymore because it's getting that small. But they did foresee the feature that you can now see up to 9 people's video camera at once, which is of course very helpful in the situation that we are in today. Everybody is working from home. A lot of video conferencing is happening. So this is already a feature that has been rolled out today. There also have been a lot of new controls for meetings. Even if you just set up a normal meeting, that doesn't have to be a live meeting or a live event for that matter, you can assign roles in meeting. You can do that only after you have sent out the meeting request. Then you have some options available via the meeting controls under your calendar in Microsoft Teams. And of course, during the meeting, you can also do that under the meeting controls. And then you can just press show participants, hover over a person and set their role. One thing to note is the organizer is always the person who has sent out or has started the meeting. And that cannot be changed. But if you make someone presenter, he has all the same controls as the organizer. Just to go over them fairly quickly. Speak and share video. Everyone can do that. Every role can do that. participate in the meeting chat. Again, everyone can just participate in the chat. Share content, only organizers and presenters can do that. If an attendee wants to share specific content, you will have to upgrade his role to presenter. Privately view a PowerPoint file shared by someone else. So if the presenter or the organizer shares a PowerPoint file, everyone will be able to just privately view that file, go back and forth. Taking control of someone else's presentation is also a feature that is only available to the organizer and the presenter, of course. As organizer or presenter, you can also mute other participants, remove certain participants, admit people from the lobby. Of course, that is very important that normal attendees cannot do that, just to make sure that only the right people are in your meeting. If someone from another organization somehow got your meeting invite link, this way the organizer or the presenter can admit him or deny him access to this meeting. Changing the roles of other participants is also something only the organizer and the presenter can do, of course. And start or stop a recording is also only for the organizer and the presenter. We talked about the multi-window pop-out functionality for chats. Those are the private chats and the group chats that are today available. This will also be available in the future for meetings. This is also a very nice feature to have. When you are inside of a meeting, someone is sharing his screens, but at the side you are taking notes. Now you can easily do that side by side whenever you pop out that window. This also makes it possible that the meeting toolbar is always present. Right now, if you are in a meeting, the meeting toolbar will disappear if you do not move your mouse in the neighborhood of that toolbar, which can, of course, sometimes be very helpful that you always see the toolbar available. This should be coming pretty soon. Then for some specific features that are already available, as of right now, you can embed Power Apps into Microsoft Teams as an application. As it was a while ago, you could implement a Power App into a Teams channel as a tab, but now you can already add a Power App as an application to your Teams environment. If you want to do that, you can simply go to the Power Apps interface, select an application, and then you can either on the top click on Add to Teams or via the Options button Add to Teams. And then that theme will become available in the app section or on the left-hand side in your Microsoft Teams interface. This is something that, of course, can be managed via the admin's Teams Center so that your organization can manage who can access certain applications and if they are by default available on the left-hand side or under the Apps tab. Something that is very specific but can be used in very dynamic ways is adaptive cards. Now, adaptive cards is a technology that is already available for quite a while via Microsoft, but it is now also usable within Microsoft Teams. You can get information from adaptive cards from users in Microsoft Teams for a Power Automate flow. If you have a certain workflow or a process running and you want to capture information from people or from certain teams, you can integrate these adaptive cards into your Power Automate process. Then Power Automate will send a message to that person. He can fill it out, submit it. The flow can then process the filled out information and continue with the flow if it still has to do something with that information. This is of course very useful because this again limits the use of sending emails out, getting information via emails, or sending the end user to a SharePoint list, for example, where he has to fill out some fields. This way you integrate everything into Microsoft Teams. One more thing that you can do with these adaptive cards as of today is that you can implement your approval workflows into them. This means that you can, via your Power Automate flow, send a message to a certain user. He gets information regarding whatever he has to approve, as you can see in this example, and then the person can say, okay, I approve of this or I reject this. And then even then, if he presses reject, he can even add a comment, and then the flow will continue to run and do its thing. But approvals are, as of today, also available via adaptive cards. One of the biggest advantages for this, in my opinion, is you do not have to spam the approvers with emails. You can just implement this via Microsoft Teams. And even if you have more than one approver, you could even send this to a specific channel. So it doesn't send one message to each person, it just sends one message into a channel. One person can approve of it, and then the approval is done. So definitely start using that one today. The Yammer app just got a redesign. Microsoft is trying to call it the Communities app. I think it's still called the Yammer app on your mobile phone, but it just got a huge redesign. But of course, the redesign also came through as a Teams app. For big companies, it can be a big advantage to use Yammer or the Communities app over an organization-wide team, as the Communities app gives a lot of advantages and a lot more freedom to users to just communicate open and freely throughout their organization. You can add certain Yammer groups, etc., surrounding sport activities or interests or whatever. So definitely very interesting and a very good app to use in big organizations and to implement into Microsoft Teams. As it was before, you could only go to Yammer via the web interface. You did not have an integrated app available within Microsoft Teams. A new feature that is also available is the feature to share a specific conversation or message from within Microsoft Teams to Outlook. One specific scenario where this can be very helpful is you have a certain conversation within a channel or team. 5 people have access to that, but you want to bring one person up to speed about what has been discussed. With this feature, you do not need to give that person access to the team or the channel just to bring him up to speed about what has been discussed. You can simply press share to Outlook, and then an Outlook window will pop up and you can add some more context to this message, choose to whomever you want to send it to, and that looks like this. It will import this as a sort of HTML format. It's not really, it looks like an image, but it isn't an image. You can still select text out of it, but it's pretty helpful in certain situations. The limit from how many members a team can have has again been upgraded. Before it was 5,000, if I'm not mistaken. So it's definitely ideal for larger companies that want to use Teams for top-down communication. If you have teams with a lot of members in them, it is definitely recommended to go to your channel settings and set that only owners can post messages, because if you have a team with, let's say, 10,000 members in it, I think it will be very hard to still see or get an overview of all the messages that will be posted there otherwise. Of course, if you have that big of a team, it might be recommended to take a look into Yammer or the new Communities app and maybe implement that. But if you do not have access to that, or for whatever reason you cannot use that tool, it is now possible to add up to 10,000 members to a team. We talked about the fact that you can share specific Teams conversations to Outlook. I think an even better feature is that you can share an email from Outlook to Microsoft Teams. This has been announced. It is not yet available, but will be pretty soon. But what this just does is you get an email, you can press share to Teams. You can say, I want to include the attachments or not. You simply type in the channel you want to share it to. Of course, you only can share it to channels you have access to. You can add some more context, and this will simply be added as a conversation to that channel, as you will see here. Here you see the email has been added to that channel. I think this is ideal in cases like the help desk. You get an issue into your Outlook or your mailbox, and you want to just get the help or involve your colleagues or team members. You can simply forward it to a specific channel, and you can then, of course, work together on the solution via the reply system. Looking forward to this one very much. Microsoft has also announced that it will be implementing a new application in Microsoft Teams for tasks. Now, I hope most of you know of the planner application. You can add planners to channels or teams. You can work together there with your colleagues. You can add tasks or assign them to certain people. But the issue that one has today is the fact that if you have a lot of planners over your different teams, it can be quite hard to get an overview of everything that is assigned to you. So Microsoft is trying to solve this with the tasks application, but the tasks application will not only contain tasks from all of the available planners, it will also bring tasks from flagged emails in your Outlook. It will show those tasks. You can add personal tasks to this application as well. So with Planner, of course, you could not add a planner just for you personally. You could only create one with Office 365 group behind it. So it's also very handy that you can just add personal tasks. And one of the bigger things, in my opinion, that this also adds is the fact that if you are working on a document with some colleagues and they add comments to that document, they can tag you in that document in the comment section, And you will even get tasks in this overview that someone has added a comment for you to resolve in a document, which can of course be very helpful, which was not yet available as of today. So you can definitely look forward to using this Tasks app in the near future. One of the things that was also very heavily requested was to get a list overview of your tasks in all of the planners. As it was before, you could only see it in the boards overview. You get these big cards. And if you, of course, then have a lot of tasks in them, it wouldn't be very helpful or very easily viewable to end users that way. So the list view will also be available in this application. Power Automate will also add contextual flows and new triggers to Power Automate. Now, what does this exactly mean, contextual flows? This means that you can start flows from specific messages within a channel, which can be very helpful. One example that you see here is add to OneNote or create a task. So this means that you can create a task for a specific message in a channel. If someone tags you, you will be able to add a task to the new task application, so that you have a task in there available for follow-up. Otherwise, you might be able, or you will forget that you had something to follow up on. So definitely something to look forward to. And a new trigger that will also be coming is when a person joins a team, you could create some sort of Power Automate flow that welcomes the member to that team, maybe send him a few links to some important documents that are available within this team, etc. So that is also something that will be coming in the near future. Of course, Microsoft Lists, Peter already talked about it very briefly, but Microsoft Lists will hopefully be coming very soon. It is in some way like SharePoint lists, but of course a lot more modern, more functionality will be available within it, and definitely for viewing pleasure, or as you can see here, it is very easy to manage these lists, to create these lists. And one of the biggest features that, in my opinion, I have seen from this is that you also will have the possibility to add comments to items in these lists. In SharePoint, this was never an option. You could, of course, in SharePoint add a custom column and use that as a comments field. But here you can visually see that a comment has been added to this item. You can easily follow up on that, etc. You will be able to create these lists from blank. So you start from a blank list. You can create them from an Excel that you have. You will then take the headers and create those columns in that list, and just look at the content within that column and use that to define what type of column it will be. It will also be available to create a new list from certain templates. As you can see here, there will be a lot of templates available from the start with different views in them, with different columns in them. And you can use these as a starting point to build upon. And I think one of the last ones that we are talking about today is the fact that Microsoft Teams will come in the near future with contextual search. As of right now, if you search at the top of Microsoft Teams, it will always search throughout entire Teams. In the near future, it will be possible if you are within a channel if you press Ctrl F, it will do a contextual search that will only search within that channel's messages and files, of course, which will be very helpful in certain situations. All right. Are there any questions that you have regarding certain features or whatever? I think we can take a few minutes to answer those.
Thank you, Peter and Sander. I see that there are no questions asked in the live event Q&A. I think it's very sunny outside and people want to spend some time outside in the sun still. Of course, you can always use Meetup or Eventbrite if there are additional questions as well, or contact the Flow directly. We will also make this recording available via the Meetup and Eventbrite channels, but I think also on the YouTube channel of the Flow, if I'm not mistaken, Sander. You can also do that.
Yes, that will also be available there in a certain period of time.
Okay, great. So that's for me then, that this ends the presentation. Just to say one more thing. In June, we'll have a session about augmented reality with HoloLens 2. We finally got our hands on a HoloLens 2. We can also show some demos about that. You will see this announced via the usual channels. So, of course, we hope to see you there. So thanks again, Peter and Sander, and thanks everyone for attending, and see you some other time. Bye-bye.